Welcome to End of Life University on YouTube. Today I'm sharing with you a conversation I had with my friend, Dr. Qwynn Galloway-Salazar. Qwynn is a veteran. She is an end of life doula, and she speaks and teaches about caring for veterans at the end of life. And so you'll enjoy our conversation as we get caught up on her course, which is called Caring for Veterans Through the End of Life. That's hosted by Psych Armor on their website. And then also her new initiative, We Hold the Line, which involves theater and being on the stage. And so I think you'll really enjoy our time together. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel down below. Also, subscribe and leave a rating and review for the podcast wherever you happen to listen. And if you're willing and able, go to eoluniversity.com/support, and you'll find 3 different ways you can make a small financial contribution there that will help keep this channel and the podcast on the air. And thanks in advance if you choose to do that. So we'll move on now with my interview with Qwynn Galloway-Salazar. Today, I'm so very excited and honored to welcome back my friend and repeat guest on the podcast, Dr. Qwynn Galloway-Salazar. And I'm just going to read her whole bio because it's so impressive. At the intersection of story, service, and social change, Dr. Qwynn Galloway-Salazar is redefining how nations honor and support veterans and their loved ones through the end of life. Founder and CEO of In Their Honor, Dr. Galloway-Salazar leads a consulting organization that integrates storytelling, applied theater, and community engagement to transform how societies care for veterans and their families through aging, loss, bereavement, and survivorship. Her work bridges public health, the arts, and compassionate community design to advance culturally responsive and trauma-informed care models. Qwynn is an Army veteran, spouse to a combat veteran, end of life doula educator, and George W. Bush Institute Veteran Leadership Scholar of the class of 2025. She's a senior vice president of engagement and transformation at Psych Armor, where she created the Caring for Veterans Through the End of Life course collection. Recognized nationally as one of USA Today's 2024 Women of the Year and as the inaugural Georgia Woman Veteran of the Year in 2022. Qwynn is amazing, and I'm so honored to be her friend. And you can learn more at her website is intheirhonor.info. But you can also go to psycharmor.org and look for the Caring for Veterans Through End of Life course. So, Qwynn, welcome. I'm just so excited we have a chance to talk once again.
Hi, my friend. Thank you, Karen. It feels like, wow, once you make it to like the third episode, you're locked in. You're locked in step. And I'm so humbled and so grateful to be here with you again.
Well, so am I. And you just pointed out that our very first interview for the podcast was exactly 4 years ago to the day that we're recording this, which gives me goosebumps to think about all that has taken place in those 4 years.
So much has happened. And I'm going to put you on the block for a minute because I know you always spotlight the work that your guests are doing, but I have to do this. For those of you who don't know how Karen and I got started, it literally was because I went to Karen's contact us page and I sent a message and she responded to that message. And her one simple yes catapulted the work that I'm able to do across the world. And so when I think of the power of End of Life University and its ripples, it's opportunities when hosts like yourself, influencers, experts like yourself say yes to someone that you see a glimmer of hope in that may do something great. And you say yes to that, and you take that person along a journey. And you've taken me on a journey. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful. And I hope folks who have been on this show come back and tell Karen the journey that you've been on simply because she was a part of the Yes crew.
Oh, thank you so much. Like that, it's really sweet and it's really gratifying for me, excuse me, to hear about that and to hear the power of saying yes. But from my end, one thing I realized is that when people come to me or are recommended to me or just show up somehow in my email inbox, that it's not just random and it's not meaningless. Like I look at every single message and think, well, this connection happened. I'm going to say yes to this person, and I have no idea why. I have no idea what will happen or what it means or anything, but I say yes because I just feel the interconnectedness of everything and all the people we meet and all the work that everyone else is doing. And honestly, usually I'm really interested in what that person in learning more. I want to hear their story. I want to know what they do. And so for me, the easy part is saying yes. I get to say yes to amazing people and hear their stories. And then whatever ripples come from that, I usually don't even know or see, but it's very gratifying to have been able to watch your process and all the things that you've done over these 4 years.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah. So at the very beginning, were you finishing your PhD at that time? And um, you'd been studying end of life care for veterans and thinking about making a course, if I remember correctly, at that time when we first
Yeah,
spoke. And
yeah.
then not only did you do that, you've done so many other things in addition.
You know, yeah. I don't even think, Karen, I was finishing up my PhD. Um, I had a date set for my training to start to become a doula. I wasn't even a doula yet. And I just knew that I found a space that I needed to make movement in. I know during that first podcast, I had shared about my mentor at the time who had stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. And one of the things that she charged me with was moving the needle forward in end of life care for veterans. And I made a promise, and one heck of a promise. I didn't even know, like, when I think back, I'm like, what kahunas did I have to even think that I could fulfill that, right? But I did it because I know that there have been so many veterans and so many families from years past that could have used end of life professionals that had the cultural competency, sensitivity, and humility to care for them the way that they needed and wanted to be cared for through the end of life. And so, yeah, we did that course. You were a part of that Caring for Veterans through the End of Life course. We just ran the numbers about a week ago, 7,500 enrollments in that course, over 68,000 views of that collection, right? Because it's
Wow.
you all stories, it's the journal. People are engaging with the content. People are saying we need to do more. So this year, we're offering CMEs for the healthcare provider course. So if you remember, we did a course for compassionate communities, caregivers, and healthcare providers. So this year, well, the end of 2025, there will be CMEs attached to the healthcare provider course. And that's exciting, right? When I think
Mm.
about healthcare providers can go on there, take that course for free and get CMEs.
That's fantastic. And I will say, like as a former hospice physician, I think one thing that really stood out to me in that initial email that you sent me was the fact your passion about working with veterans and my own recognition that when we cared for veterans on our hospice service, it was clear that they had different needs than some of our other patients, but we didn't always know how to fulfill those needs. We weren't sure um, what do we do and how do we best care for this person? And I still felt some pain from that, from pain from wondering and questioning, did we serve all their needs? Did we give them what they needed at the end of life? So that is what made me so interested in talking with you and realizing we have to spread the word. This is important that we talk about this particular group of people and how we care for them at the end of the life. And then my own father was a veteran as well, and we had that discussion too. And so I felt a lot of passion for the topic, and I feel thrilled now to have played even the tiniest role in getting started this beautiful work that you've created and everything that you're doing. So bravo for the course having so many views and now CMEs, which I think I really want to encourage any healthcare providers listening to do the course because you don't may not even realize the unique needs of veterans, and the course will help point that out to you.
Yeah, I love it. I was at a hospice conference yesterday, right? And I mean, I'm coming to the conference because I want to learn. And this woman walks up to me and she whispers in my ear and she's like, I know who you are. And I'm like, okay. So she's
Wow.
like, I took your courses. And I'm like, yay, right? Like it's one of those things where I was so excited simply because I was sitting in a room where no one knew that I was going to be there, but someone had taken the course and was just like, oh my gosh, those courses were so great. And oh my gosh, can I, fangirl for a moment because you're sitting in the same space. And I'm like, just put the word out there, right? Like just share it. If you see me, great, great. My goal is to get people as sparked up as possible to do more for veterans than say thank you for your service at the end of their lives. So if you see me, be empowered to say, hey, Qwynn, tell me what's one thing that I can do. Right? I've taken your courses. What's one other thing that I can do? Let's have those conversations. Um, because that's where paradigms shift. That's where change happens. And we can all collectively do something to make those changes happen. So, for example, we launched earlier this week Caring Minutes, right? And it's an offshoot of the Caring for Veterans collection, where twice a month in Psych Armor's newsletter, we're going to have a Caring Minute. It may be a story from a hospice provider. It may be a story from a caregiver who served, to care for a veteran through the end of life. It may come from me. It may come from the community. But the hope is to generate this space where people can go back and say, huh, that's really a good idea. I can, have a meal train in my community for that veteran that lives across the street. Let me try that. So, we know that the courses will live on, but now we're saying, what are those things that we can ensure that that training transfers over into real time?
Mm. And then I love that idea. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Mm. I love that idea of giving small suggestions to people of little things they can do that make a difference. And we already talked about it makes a difference to say yes to someone, but life is full of all kinds of little examples like that of one thing you could do to
One thing.
show care that might change everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I look at that work and I'm like, wow, um, it fulfills all the needs and wants that I have to penetrate in an educational framework. But then when I think of what came out of that spark of storytelling, that spark of having interviews and conversations has like taken its own form and shape and has just launched me to say, okay, I know I have a huge personality. Um, and I think that there are a multitude of ways to educate people outside of just the traditional, here's a book, here's, scenarios, here's asynchronous learning. Let's take it a step further where those learners can become immersed in the work and feel part of the change that's happening.
Yes, and that brings us to talk about your latest initiative or one of your latest initiatives, which is it's called We Hold the Line. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
yeah,
And I don't know very much about that, so I'm excited for you to tell us all about that and what you're working on right now.
sure, sure. So here's what's funny, Karen. So last year, I am at brunch with my husband, and it's the day before Endwell. And my husband knew that I was going to be performing on the stage of Endwell. He has only seen me perform one other time before that. And when I say perform, totally different than presenting, like full on monologue performance. And so my husband and I were sitting at brunch, and I say to him, okay, I need you to hold on for a moment, but I think that I'm going to do something in theater after tomorrow. And he looks at me and he's like, how in the world are you going to do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I just think that something's going to happen and I'm going to do theater. I promise you, got off the stage at Endwell, getting ready to go to the reception. You know how there's the reception after Endwell. And Elizabeth Copeland of the Grief Dialogues walks up to me. And we're having this short exchange, phenomenal exchange, and just keeping this quick story timely. In May of 2025, after Enwell, I co-produced Grief Dialogues Memorial Day, a theater performance in LA alongside of Elizabeth Copeland. And since then, I have performed a multitude of times. And so it only made sense for me to say, how can I take public health, that compassionate communities think tank that we founded
Mhm.
alongside of Elizabeth Johnson and Erin Collins in Oregon? How can I take storytelling, take art, and make it a healing educational platform? And so I leaned in and I reached out to Nita and I reached back out to Elizabeth Copeland and I said, hey, are y'all willing to be my community partners? I really don't know how to do this and how to do this well. I just know I have to do this. They said yes. And I will share the 7 cities in January because it launches in January. But I have been asked, so I have confirmed 7 cities, but I've been asked for an additional 5
Wow, that's
in
amazing.
less than a month because I served as one of the keynotes at Doulapalooza 2025, and that was the day that I announced it on stage. And I haven't even made a large announcement, Karen. Like this will be the larger announcement in our end of life space. Um, and 2026 is booked.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible.
It's booked. It's booked. But I'm so thrilled because there are so many stories that need to be told. And when I think about theater, theater brings in just this communal experience. And when I take theater and I think about talkbacks and how we can immerse people into a performance, you leave being impacted in your head, your heart, and your soul. And the way that the world is today, we need more of that.
It's so very true. And when I think about reading a book, for example, it's possible to read a book only with your head. You just read the words and without going any deeper, without feeling any of the emotion or the depth of the stories contained in the book. But you cannot sit in an audience and watch someone performing on stage without being touched by the resonance of their voice, the energy in their bodies. And the power of what they're speaking to you, it infiltrates into your entire body and touches your heart. It moves you in ways that simply reading a book might not.
I could not agree with you more, right? There was a gentleman at Endwell. After I got off the stage and I came back through, he pulled me to the side and he said, I'm a Marine and I knew that your topic was going to cover veterans. And right before you went on, I was getting ready to walk out. And my wife tapped me on my lap, on my leg, and said, no, you need to stay. And so he said, I'm glad I stayed because you saw me.
Mm. Wow.
And I will never, I hope I see him next week. I don't remember his name. I remember that moment. And I often think about the fact that people will remember how you make them feel. And for many veterans, including myself, we want to know in this lifetime that we were seen, we were heard, we loved, but we were loved, and we fought for this country, with this country having an understanding that we signed a blank check with our lives. And just the smallest opportunity to serve someone who has served can shift how they see themselves and their lived experiences.
Mm.
And that's powerful.
So very true. And I was wondering if the Marine who was tempted to walk out, maybe some veterans are just tired of having people talk about them and about their experiences who haven't lived the experiences and who don't feel the depth of it all.
Right.
And that's what he may have expected was going to happen. And he discovered something completely different, you having been there yourself and also having the ability to express all of that emotion so powerfully through your monologue. um, it it it's a game changer. I mean, it truly is something that can shift the needle as your mentor asked you to do.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, right after the collection came out, so the first course came out in August of 2023. What many people don't know is my husband suffered a stroke at that
Mm.
same time. And my husband was in PCU, and all throughout the night, we would have nurses come in and out to check on him. And not one time, and mind you, my husband has tattoos, right? Combat boots, flag, like he, he has IVs. So you should see that he probably served. Not one time did anyone ask about, did he serve? I would stay up, Karen, because I knew that every time someone walked in, it would startle him. And I stayed up because I wanted to gently wake him up without suddenly waking him up, knowing it was going to spike his blood pressure. And so when I think about healthcare providers and when I think about end of life professionals, how important it is that everyone that you have the chance to interact with, you ask that question, have you served? Have you served in the armed forces? Not, are you a veteran? Because everyone is not going to identify that way. But asking that question, because it allows you, if you get an affirmative answer, you need to know that you have to have some level of trauma-informed care in the way you're caring for that veteran. And so that experience for me, even though it wasn't an end-of-life experience, it allowed me to see what so many have said along the way firsthand and how we need to do a better job in just identifying and asking those questions.
And what a difference it makes to
Yeah.
simply have asked the question. And even for the person who's being asked that, that's one way of being seen and being recognized, because I don't imagine most people who have served are going to offer that on their own. Like, oh, by the way, I served in the armed forces. They're not going to tell us that if we don't bother to ask about it.
Yeah. No, not going to happen. Some might, but the likelihood, not. And when we look at the numbers, right? We have, I think the most recent stat is like 700,000 veterans die a year, right? And when you look across the nation, we have like 14.3 million caregivers, military caregivers.
Wow.
We've got to do a better job in educating ourselves. We've got to do a better job in showing up, um, because these people, right, have
Yeah.
so much to keep our nation free.
And so the veterans themselves are a population that's often overlooked, but so are their caregivers. Whoever is stepping up to provide the care may have been a part of this veteran community too, as a spouse or a loved one or family member for
Yeah,
all these years. And they as well need to be recognized. And
yeah,
we need to be noting their special needs and when we're out when we're offering care as well.
absolutely. So once my husband got home, right, like his there were a multitude of things that were going on. I had people, we talk about compassionate communities and what people in communities can do to show up. My friends wouldn't call me and say, "Hey, do you need something?" My friends would make executive decisions, and dinner would just be on our step. Groceries would just be on our step, right? Because when you ask someone, or when you say, "Hey, if there's something you need, just call me," they're not. We're not. We're a proud, prideful bunch. And I think that it's not only for our military connected communities, I think that transcends to anybody. So this is a real blanket statement. Please, if people have to eat, people have to wash clothes, people need breaks, just go ahead and say, "Hey, from on Tuesdays from 4 to 8, I'm coming to take a shift to do whatever's needed in the house," right? Like, just go ahead and do it because it needs to be done. "Hey, I see you keep your hair dyed and I see your roots are growing in. I need you to fix that. I'm coming over so that you can go get some respite, get some time for yourself to fix that." It's showing up for each other in our humanity, right? And not saying, if they need me, they'll call. They're not. They're not. So take the high road and say, "What's the one thing that I can do?" And just do it.
And it takes courage to do it sometimes, but I always tell the story. Well, I have two stories after my father died. One woman from my clinic office, she just showed up at the door one day with a pot of soup, and she handed it to me and left. And I realized, like, all of us think, oh, I'm sure they could use food, but what should I bring? And what if they have too much? And what if they don't even like what I bring? It doesn't matter. It matters that somebody showed up, somebody made something. And the truth is, if you already have a lot of food, bring something that can be frozen and used later, and
Yes.
don't worry about it, because whether that person likes what you made or not, someone else is going to be in the house that will love it. And
Yes.
it will be eaten, and it will be important. And the love and the
Yeah.
concern that comes with that pot of soup is
Yeah.
what changes everything. And another woman did what you were kind of suggesting too. She showed up with her vacuum and she just cleaned my house, and she didn't say anything. She cleaned all the bathrooms and she vacuumed and dusted and left. And that was it. And it changed everything for me, knowing that someone was willing to do it. But I didn't have to ask anyone to come, and I didn't have to figure out, oh, when should they come? When will it work out? Or how? No, she showed up, and have the courage to do it because it changes everything.
I love that, Karen. And thank you for sharing your experience too. Um, because then it allows other people to say, "I'm not alone," right? Like at some point, and I know we're stepping out of this context of this military connected, veteran connected conversation, but at some point, we're all probably going to be caregivers in some capacity. How do you want others to show up for you? Like set a model, show up for others, and how do you want people to show up for you? Um, that caring aspect is what we need to make cool again, right? Caring for each other is what we need to make cool again.
That's so very
That
true.
compassion, right? And people, I really try so hard to make compassion a thing again because we're losing it. We're losing it. And we've got to bring, if we expect our civilization, society to survive, we have got to become a more compassionate people.
Oh,
Period.
amen. That is so very true, Qwynn.
Period.
So true.
Yeah,
We don't make it any other way, you know. We
yeah,
we have to step up and help each other.
we do. We do. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you one thing because we specifically timed recording this and airing this with Veterans Day. So this is airing on Monday, November 10th, and Veterans Day is tomorrow, the November 11th. And I'm really curious about this day, Veterans Day. Is that kind of a day of irony for veterans in a way? Oh, we set aside this day and people view it as, oh, good, I get a holiday this day. I don't have to go to work. Do we miss the point sometimes by having a Veterans Day, but are we are we failing to actually recognize the people that that day is supposed to be about?
Hmm. Some, right? I think that's such a hard question because I'm so connected to the population. So I'll say some. Um, I think if we all know someone who has served, and for many people who have tomorrow off, send a text, call, and just say, what's one thing about your service you want me to know? Thank you for your service to many of us is such, it does nothing for many of us, especially when you're thinking about those that served in Vietnam,
Mhm.
those that may have served in Korea, who were not welcomed home, who feel as though they were the forgotten generation, those who may have seen atrocities during their service, those who may live with moral injuries or soul injuries or survivor's guilt. And when you say simply, thank you for your service, I had one doula share with me several years ago that she told a Vietnam veteran that she was working with, thank you for your service. And he said to her, do you even know what you're thanking me for?
Mm.
So indeed, tomorrow is a holiday, but if there's a veteran that's in your life, just reach out. And some may not want to share, and that's okay. That's okay too. But being intentional and saying, if it wasn't for your service, I'd be at work today, right? Like I wouldn't have today off. 5 minutes, 60 seconds in a text message, but acknowledging that we've served is powerful.
And that service, it's not simple. There are lots of mixed emotions, as you were pointing out, lots of deep feelings and trauma related to that service. And so it isn't superficial, like to say thank you for your service. That's become trite now and doesn't carry any depth or weight to it in a way.
It doesn't. And so, we can do a better job. And my hope is that we will, right? I I so believe in the power that when we know better, we do better. So I'm hoping those that tune in they can pick up their cell phones and say, hey, right? Like I just heard Doc Q say da 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 da, and I just heard Dr. Karen say da 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 da. I'm just calling to just ask you one thing. When you were serving during the Korean War, what kind of music did you listen to back then? Or what was your favorite meal? Or tell me about a battle buddy, a friend, an experience. And if it's nothing that they want to share, or if they do share and it's heavy, hold that space. Silence can be such a gift, so golden. You don't have to occupy that space with words. Sometimes when we allow our veterans to tell their stories, it's healing and it's like a balm, right? A salve to their souls. Because sometimes they feel like people don't want to hear their stories
Mhm.
or it's too much. Lean in. It's okay to be uncomfortable with the discomfort, but they deserve to be witnessed.
And I wonder about saying something like, I don't know. I've never served. I don't know what that must have been like for you, but I know that I've received a gift of freedom in my
Ooh,
life uh, because of that service. I know that. I know that side of it, but I don't know what it must have been like, and what it cost you, and what you had to give up and give to ensure my freedom. I don't know if that's something that,
I love that. Yes, I love that. If you can pull that, right? If you can pull that as a quote, yes, yes, yes. That's beautiful.
yeah.
That's
So acknowledging that, honestly, there's no way we could even imagine, I'm sure, what it's like to actually be in military service if we haven't been there ourselves. So to be that's the part of about being humble, is to say, I don't know what that must be like. I don't know. I'd love to hear anything that you would like to share with me about it.
I love it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Because that, we all need to open our minds and kind of change our mindset about how we look at veterans. And I think when one of the other subjects we've talked about before is the high suicide rate among veterans, which was, the cause of my father's death. That we need to open our minds, and we need to change our attitude and how we speak to veterans and speak about them, and how we connect with them and re-welcome them back into society when they return.
Without a doubt. We know that one of a factor related to suicides is isolation and loneliness and being disconnected. But we also know that a protective factor is connected, right? Being connected, having that sense of belonging, whether you're a 25-year-old veteran to 100 and whatever, right? Like feeling that sense that you belong, that you're connected is powerful. And so by all means, I totally believe in evidence-based practices as it relates to suicide prevention. But that simple piece of, hey, if you know someone's in a crisis, if you see that their behaviors are a little bit not like them, being intentional and showing up and being present and validating their experience, but actively listening to their experience and knowing that if you have this conversation and you feel as though that they're in crisis, calling 988, which is the crisis line, to get them some assistance. Let me back that up. 988, then press 1, because that is specifically for veterans.
Mm.
Can do so much good. Um, for years before I came to the end of life space, suicide prevention was my work. And so I still sit in spaces in suicidology. Um, and I will always lean into the power of connection. Um, it's just being with someone when they're in their darkest moments and saying, I see you, I got you, I'm here to support you. And holding firm to those words can save a life. Um, and it's often, when people ask me, how did I get to the space of suicide prevention? And that was how. I was called to a scene for someone who had suicidal ideations and had an attempt. And I stayed with that person for quite some time until help arrived. And even when that person was out of the hospital, I came back because that's what community is. So when I think about my work in suicide prevention over the course of years, and I think of my work in the end of life space, Karen, neither one of those spaces I chose. They chose me. And there have been moments I feel like I'm aging myself, but I have been in the space of caring for military connected communities for over 20 years. And I recall when I took my uniform off, I didn't want to do anything remotely close to the military,
Mhm.
but I couldn't see myself doing anything different because I understand the sacrifices that are made, but I also understand that there's so much our society can do. And because I have a voice and because I have a platform, that's my second service in how I show up for my brothers and my sisters and my siblings in arms to say, I will not let you be forgotten.
Mm. I love that you call it your second service because I think when you look at life that way, in a way that it's all integrated, it's all woven together. And whatever we experienced when we were younger, whatever we've learned, whatever we know, it's all valuable. And what a blessing it is when you come to a place in life where it all comes together now. You're
Yeah,
weaving all of it together, all of the experience, all the training, all the studying that you've done. It's coming together and it's coming together on the stage where you're having a powerful impact on people.
I appreciate that. And I love it, right? Because I would have 4 years ago when we were talking, I wasn't even a doula. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I needed to do something. And at that time, I was in the suicide prevention space. Um, but when I look back, I can only connect the dots looking back. And I've realized that my job is just to do the next right thing. Um, I remember Suzanne O'Brien a few years ago said to me, I had a moment where I'm like, I can't be at the bedside because I was doing all of this education. And Suzanne said to me, you are doulaing the doulas.
Mm-hmm.
Your job now is to doula end of life professionals, Qwynn. And you've got to accept that. And the moment when I accepted that, it was almost like the universe just opened so big because I was fighting. I wanted to be at the bedside, but I also knew what the research said. I also knew where the gaps and the white spaces were. And I wanted to be in a position where I could affect change, um, and hope that it rippled out, and it's rippling.
In the most beautiful way.
It's rippling.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's really exciting to see that. I just have to say I love that you talked about doing the next right thing um, because right now my 3-year-old granddaughter is living with me. We've watched the movie Frozen
Frozen.
a dozen times, and that song is in the movie. And so So she asks me about that. What does that mean? What does that mean? Do the next right thing. And so it's become like a big part of my life and her life. And we talk about, well, sometimes the next right thing is very small. You put your crayons away that you were coloring with. That's the next right thing because you're done with them. You put them away, but I just thought of actually, I thought, I'm so thankful that I've watched that movie so many times
Yeah,
and I have that line in my head
yeah.
because on a day when everything feels overwhelming or there's too much or I can't figure it out or what am I going to do now? It's like, wait, stop. What's the next right thing?
The
And
next right thing.
and I thought maybe we could even apply that when you're saying do one small thing to reach out to help someone else. Think about what's one small next right thing that you could do for a veteran this Veterans Day that might make a difference. And it doesn't have to be big and it doesn't have to be world changing. It might just be saying yes to someone. It might be something small that's actually going to create a ripple.
That's it. Just, I am so tickled that you knew where I got that from because a lot of people don't know where I got that from. In my office, I have a whole bookcase of Frozen figurines because, quite honestly, those two movies changed my life,
And
right? It's that voice that I kept hearing that kept me up. That was just like, okay, you're supposed to be doing something. You're supposed to be doing something. Go do it. I'm going to keep singing in your ear until you get up and do the next right thing and do it again and again. And so when people are like, oh my gosh, like, oh, aren't you afraid? Yeah, every single day. Every single day, I am afraid of something. I shared with you a bit ago, Karen, the other night, because I've been a part of the George W. Bush Stand To Veterans Leadership Program. I'm sitting at a dinner table with President Bush,
wow.
and I'm explaining to President Bush what end of life doulas are. And I know at first I was like, my voice was cracking and I was stuttering because I'm just like, but I'm like, if I can sit in a space and tell a president, a former president of the United States of America, what end of life doulas are, we can do that everywhere we go and be proud of the work that we're doing because the work that we're doing ensures that people have the opportunity to end well and their families have the opportunity to be cared for well. So wherever we are and we're hearing that voice and it's screaming at us, amplify that voice in the communities in which you serve. I tell people when I first became a doula, it was a passion project in the middle of the pandemic, and I wanted to care for veterans in my city. 4 years later, I'm sitting at a dinner table with the president. And I have countries reaching out saying, can you help us? Saying yes to your wildest dreams. Let me back that up. Having one person say yes to see you and the potential in you, and you saying yes to your wildest dreams can change the world. So when people say sometimes, Karen, well, dang, Qwynn, what do you want your legacy to be? That I cared really hard for humans and how important it is to care for each other. And our service to this nation mattered. Now show up for us too.
Mm.
And if I can amplify that, that's my legacy. And I loved hard, then I've done my work, right? Um, of course, that my family and my friends know that I love every part of their beings. But the work that I do, it's truly to be of service to others. Full stop.
That's so beautiful. And Qwynn, your entire story is just such a good role model and teaching lesson for us in a way, is that we look at all the problems out there in our society, and there are many and they're big, and we have no idea, how are we going to fix anything? How can I make an impact? What can I change? How can I make a difference? And that we honestly don't need to figure anything out. We don't need to even have a vision or even know what where we're headed or what's going to happen. It does all come back to that next right thing. Do us one small thing, take one small step, listen to your intuition or your guidance, whatever's coming to you, whatever's talking to you in your ear, and do it even if you can't see how it's going to make a difference. You can't see what it's connected to. How is that going to help? What will that do? Just do it anyway. That's
Just
the
do it.
next right thing. And
Yeah.
once we start linking little tiny moments of doing the next right thing together, enormous things could happen. We probably won't all end up sitting at a table with a former president of the United States, to be honest. Most of us won't have that experience, but you just never know. You never know.
You never know. You never know. Qwynn, of the one who enlisted in the armed forces in the army in 2001, would have never. Sometimes I think about her and the things I would tell her. He was our commander in chief when I was in service. And here I am sitting at a table. And I'm going to take this a little bit deeper. I don't care what your politics are. One of the greatest things I learned through the Stand To Veterans Leadership Program at the Bush Institute is we all come from an array of politics, of ideologies, of values, of all these things. But if you can get a group of people to say they care about something greater than themselves, you just might be able to do something great. Our politics may be different, but where do we stand when it comes to taking care of humanity? Once you know where you are and where you're leaning at that, oh, the things you can do. And so I take that and I reflect on that. And when I think about the power of theater to be able to give that, we're living in this nation now where you have to be on one side of the coin and you don't. How do you just continue to do the right thing and show up for each other? Because at the end of the day, we're all we have in this lived experience.
Wow. So true. So powerful, Qwynn.
That's it. I don't care what your politics are. I don't care. I'll serve you, right? Where's your humanity? That's the only way that we're going to get through this thing.
That's so very true. So very true. Set aside all the labels, all the superficial differences that we find with one another.
Because when you're at the end of life, do those things matter? Do you take your politics with you? What do you want to be remembered for? How did you show up for others? Let's influence that.
Exactly.
So,
Wow,
um,
so powerful.
and I mean, when we served, right? Like we didn't have like we served under whether you were a Democratic president or a Republican. We didn't have an opportunity to say we're choosing one side. So I live my life that way, right? We had a mission. In this journey of my second service now, I have a mission, and that's to serve, period. And so I just continue to serve,
And
period.
that mission is what's greater than you and what
Greater than
transcends all of these artificial
you.
divisions that we live with in our day-to-day lives.
And it's noise, right?
Mhm.
While we are listening to the noise, we have an aging veteran. We have a crisis because we have aging veterans all over the nation, especially Vietnam veterans. They are our greatest aging veteran population, and what interventions are we putting in place right now to ensure they're being cared for, where we're fighting, and while we're just not seeing eye to eye, we are losing generations of people who are dying not witnessed to this life. How dare us? So this Veterans Day, text, call, ring a doorbell, show up, show up in service to mankind in our honor.
Mm. Wow. Such beautiful, inspiring thoughts, Qwynn.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Well, I wanted to ask you about so We Hold the Line
Yes,
is your theatrical performance, and you mentioned that you're already booked for 2026. Will people be able to go to your website if they want to find out where because I it sounds like you can't announce the cities yet,
I can't
but
announce the cities yet. Yes, but it will towards the end of the year. I'm doing a total overhaul now that I have finished my work at the Bush Institute, which was a 5-month program. I am doing a total overhaul of the website because that's the new focal point is theater. And so, I will make sure, Karen, that I send you a message that says, "Hey, it's out there." And believe me, I'll keep you posted. And however you want to share that with your audience, please feel free to share it with your audience.
okay, and that's going to be intheirhonor.info. That website is the one
It
you're
will.
overhauling.
Yes.
But then your course, Caring for Veterans Through the End of Life, is available at psycharmor.org. And I really want to, so the theater, that's for 2026, but for the
Yes.
rest of 2025, you
Yes.
can go to psycharmor.org, look for Caring for Veterans Through End of Life, and do the courses because, from what I understand, is there a charge for the courses, Qwynn?
Absolutely not. They are free 99, right? Like
Free
they
99.
they are free 99. They're free, they're asynchronous. You take them on your own time. Each one of the courses has a journal. Each one of the courses has a certificate. You get to hear Dr. Karen Wyatt share elements of her story. You get to hear other end of life professionals share their experiences with working with veterans to the end of life. It is unbiased. It is a masterpiece of storytelling, art, and heart,
Hmm.
and head work infused in there, of course.
It's
But
really
it is,
wonderful. It is so well done, so well produced by Psych Armor.
yes,
It's really beautifully done, and you
yes,
will not regret it. And I would like to propose that for this Veterans Day, taking one of those courses is the next right thing for most of us
yes,
to
I
do.
love it. And they're short, right? Like they're less than 30 minutes long. So you scroll through your social media longer than
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I love, that's the challenge, Karen. That's the challenge. Take one of the courses.
Take one of the courses for Veterans Day this year. You will be being of service because you're going to learn so much. I will say these courses are rich and dense. There's so much information. You won't regret that half an hour that you spend with one of the courses.
And then share it
Mhm.
because it's free 99, right?
Exactly. Free
Share
99.
it.
You can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong. Share it. We received a generous donation to do those courses from a family of a Vietnam veteran. I to this day, I don't even know who it is.
Wow.
It was an angel donor. But wow, wow.
Well, speaking
Yes.
of angels, there are angels all around your work. Your work has been flying on wings of love these 4 years. It's amazing, Qwynn.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. I cannot wait to see you soon.
I
I'm
know
so
Qwynn and I
looking
get to see
forward
each
to
other
it.
at Endwell this year in just a few short days, like 10 days
Yes,
away. I can't wait.
yes. And I love the team at Enwell. They continue to support Psych Armor and ensure that veterans are a part of that day, right? our partnership allows us to bring in a cadre of folks with us to learn more about end of life so that we can take that, what we learn, how we can share it while we're in that end well space, and then amplify it when we leave. Absolutely co-collaborate and like there's so much we can do together than thinking we can do things in silos and apart. So by all means, right? Whoever it is that you're thinking about how I can partner with them or what can I do with them to amplify, do it. The worst that people can say is no. Do it. We cannot
Exactly.
do this work alone.
Exactly. And remember to say yes. And I will say, as much as like I consider this podcast has become a hub for people to connect together and collaborate, but Endwell is 1,000 times that to come together in person with like-minded people. So many ideas get generated, so many partnerships are formed, so much happens because of Endwell. If you're able to go, don't pass that up either. It's fantastic.
It is fantastic. Absolutely. So it will be a reunion.
Hmm.
It will be a reunion to be able to sit in the space because I know NWell 2023, we sat together. I was green. I didn't know anybody. Karen walked me around and introduced me to everybody and their grandmother. And it was the greatest thing. So when I had the chance to perform last year, it felt like home. But now I get to go back this year and just soak it all in and see friends and family and just feel the space and know that all of the work that we all are doing is just good stuff. It's greatness.
Yes, so good.
So I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's do it.
I'm ready to. And thank you. Thanks, Qwynn. I know how busy you are. Thanks for taking the time out. I mean, to talk with me, but also to share it with the whole audience and inspire people today.
I appreciate that. And once again, if there's any way, I am not hard to find. My name is so unique. I am not hard to find. And I put my Crocs and I tell people, I put my Crocs and my Converse on, my my Elphaba Crocs to be exact. I put them on just like anyone else. If you are an end of life professional, if you're a doula and you want to just spend some time processing or brainstorming how you can care for veterans, I will always make time for that. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. The same way I reached out to Karen and Karen reached right back out to me. That's how we do this work is by showing up for one another. So if there's a way that I could be of support, just reach out. Send a note on my contact me page. It's going to be me that's going to respond. I will respond. And whatever I can do to serve and support you, you've got it.
So beautiful. Thank you again,
Thank you, my
Qwynn. I'll
friend.
see you soon.
I'll see you soon.